Um, this is going to be a first for me, because not only is this the first time that I've shared a stage with a very good friend of mine, Sandra, but it's also the first time that we've done this virtually. So unfortunately, Sandra can't be with us today, but Sandra's joining us from Montreal. And I'll give Sandra the opportunity to introduce herself in a minute. But 12 years ago, Sandra and I met, and this is a lady that is a CX leader. And over the last 12 years, she has, in B2B businesses, transformed them through experience. And so what you're going to hear this afternoon is a really, really interesting story, not about AI, not about tech, but about people, and the importance of getting the culture right, and just how you can really start to take that brand and make a difference when every single person in the organization understands their role in bringing that brand to life. And just to set the scene, why is this so important? What we see in the market is that 80% of organizations hit a plateau. Where they get to around customer experience, they're unable to progress. And that becomes a problem, because they're not able to see the returns that they're actually wanting to get after. And there's two things that they need to do. The first is that they need to actually focus on what really matters, but do that as an operating model. So embed something like journey management as an operating model. The second is actually bringing the whole culture to life. So whether you're an organization of 100 or 100,000, is actually bringing that culture to life. So what we're going to do this afternoon with Sandra is we're going to open that Pandora's box, and we're going to start to understand what does it really take to do that. So Sandra, hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you great.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Hi, Sandra. And maybe you'd just like to say a few words about yourself to introduce you.
Sure. So I am the Director of Customer Experience at Autodesk. I've been doing customer experience as a strategy for the organization, multiple organizations for probably 15 to 20 years now. So some of this, I've learned a lot along the way as a practitioner, and I'm based out of Montreal.
Great.
Can you?
And
okay,
so
great. I can't see you always, so sometimes I wonder if I'm no longer connected. But can you all hear me great, or?
We can hear you loud and clear, Sandra. Yeah. So,
fantastic.
All right.
Excellent.
Wonderful. But I mean, talk to us a little bit about, I guess, some people will know who Autodesk is, yeah? And others will go, who on earth is Autodesk, yeah? And what are they about? So tell us a little bit about Autodesk.
Yeah, so if you want to go to my slide, I'm going to tell a quick story about Autodesk, and also just so you understand the complexities that the company is dealing with. So we're a software product and services company that is really empowering our amazing, very imaginative, innovative customers to solve big challenges in the world. And they're designing and making pretty much anything. In fact, we serve multimedia and entertainment, but you probably know us best for like our AutoCAD software, which is really hyper-focused on architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing industries. So we have a very, very wide set of industries that we serve. And if you head on to the next slide, our personas are also therefore very, very complex in the sense that, yes, we have the users that we need to serve, but a lot of our business is from a business-to-business perspective. We have about 6.4 million subscribers. We have a growth of 11% a year, so it's going well. We have about 100 cutting-edge products that are supporting our business goals. But within that context, beyond the end user, there is that entire buying committee, which means that we have to figure out which all of these personas that we engage with, what are their focus? What are they measured by? What are they trying to achieve, both from a business perspective and a personal perspective? So like many of you probably in the room, especially those who are B2B, you can understand the complexities of the personas we're trying to serve. And so it's more than thinking about their business, but taking it to the persona and the person themselves. So that brand and how our customers and are engaging with the brand is seen through very different lenses of what each of these persona is being measured on in terms of the objectives they're trying to hit and also their KPIs. And if you go to the next slide, just to keep going down that methodology, when we first started at Autodesk, we were trying to really go from a system of measure where we were observing this beautiful set of problems and patting ourselves on the back that we knew what the problem was, to a real system of action, and a system of action that would allow us to get away from patting ourselves on the back and observing the problem to really taking action on systemic issues, but also account level engagements. And the interesting thing is, at the beginning, we couldn't really push the company very far because we couldn't tie those insights and customer experience improvements to the business outcomes that our own company was trying to achieve. But we had a forcing function, and that's on the next slide. I wanted to just talk about normally when you're starting to get into this whole customer experience improvement perspective, I've noticed that it works best for us to wait for forcing functions. And one of those was that we, as a company, realigned and restructured about 7 years ago to create a more connected way to engage with our customers, from sales to marketing to customer success. But also we had a realization that we didn't just want to focus on experience improvements, we also needed to really deliver on outcomes for our customers and ensure they were getting value. And so at the time, they had hired our first chief customer officer, which presented itself with a wonderful opportunity for us to really galvanize what we knew about our customers and really set up this customer experience strategic realization project for our company to focus on customer experience. So forcing functions for me are always really, really critical, and it'll come back in my storyline. So with this new chief customer officer, we were given the task, my team was given the task to really be the custodians of this strategic realization focus to start understanding more deeply how we turn some of these insights into action. And then we got busy. So on the next slide, we got into that whole, how do we move from collect to analyzing really the problem to making sure we get all the right information into our hands of both our employees, but also the organizational leaders so that they could act on that feedback. And we knew that we needed to close the loop with our customers about all sorts of feedback they gave us, whether it was sentiment or about product improvement. We had to design a holistic system. And that worked great. We did, if you go to the next slide, a number of very meaningful initiatives that really required a cross-functional engagement across our organization to solve. And in particular, we knew that some of our technology managers in our customer base who were responsible for administrating our software had a really difficult set of jobs to be done, not because they had to be, but because we had never really paid attention to those jobs to be done for them. And we rallied a number of different organizations around a project to improve it, and it improved greatly their NPS, their likelihood to recommend us. We saw some renewal rates improving for that cohort of customers. It was fantastic. People really started to pay attention because we were able to turn those and link those initiatives back to ROI for our customer and ROI for Autodesk.
So Sandra,
So, you know,
sorry, Sandra, maybe I could just interrupt for a minute, yeah? Because, I mean, it sounds, you know, it's a really success story here, you know? I mean, you galvanize the organization, you identify a whole series of improvements that you want to focus on, yeah? That are relevant for your customers, complex B2B environments across, yeah? That, you also see that there's a situation where what's happened is that the improvements are getting driven, yeah, through that. But you know, there then comes a point when you say, "What next?" And hopefully,
exactly.
yeah. And so,
exactly.
I mean, the question for me is, sorry, you've just disappeared from my screen, Sandra. So this is this is all an interesting bit of personal development here. So. Personal learning, yeah? We all talk about growth, yeah? This is the opportunity to do that, yeah? So you found yourself in that situation, Sandra, and I mean, you turned to culture, yeah? So I'm just interested in you know, what you did there.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that when we really realized that we needed to move to culture is kind of going to the next slide. We realized that from a maturity of XM capabilities at this company, we'd mobilized, but we had stagnated in our NPS. So we had made improvements. There had been some more loyalty to Autodesk over time. It took 3 years to get there, by the way. And if you move to the next slide, I can't see if it's stuck. I just see the mobilize. But at the end of the day, we were mobilizing very specific parts of the organization, but we hadn't empowered. What we realized is we hadn't empowered every employee to make decisions on their own. So the only way we were going to accelerate our opportunity to be experience-led was to start figuring out how we would get employees to have the right mindset, have the right tools in their toolkit, not just from NPS scores and sentiment and, you know, tidbits of insights, but really thinking more holistically about the decisions they need to make day to day, because our little team couldn't be everywhere all at once. And there would be a lot more impact to the overall experience if we could empower each employee to have that culture mindset. So one of the things that we did is, together with sort of the transformation of Autodesk over the last few years, the brand team and the culture team got together with the customer experience team, and we thought about what were the behaviors and the culture codes that needed to be in place that would actually support a customer experience mindset. That was a big shift, a huge opportunity, because many of you probably tried this before and didn't get so far with your HR folks on how you might impact the culture code for your company to not have customer experience mindset as a tack on, but really integrate it into the culture code. So we sat down, Mark, with the HR organization and started brainstorming the culture code, but not just for the employee, but also extremely connected to the customer. So not only did we map out a set of behaviors that we thought were going to take Autodesk into the future, we mapped those behaviors to how would the employee feel it and how would our customers experience it as well. And that's becoming very powerful in helping everyone understand what are the decision points that they can make throughout their engagements with their customers, but also in the design of the experiences that are really going to uphold that set of behaviors and experiences that support our brand. That was a lot, but I'll let you ask some questions.
Thanks, Sandra. So let me just play that back so I understand it. Yeah. So highly successful in terms of driving customer experience improvements. Yeah. But you recognize that actually, if you want to achieve that next level, then actually what you needed to do was you needed to equip, empower, energize, mobilize everybody across the organization to think customer, to be customer. Yeah? And interestingly, what we should get into, I think, Sandra, is, you talked about, I guess, everybody comes to work to do a good job. I mean, if we start with that premise, everyone comes to work to do a good job. What you're giving them is you're giving them direction, yeah, and clarity in terms of these are the behaviors, these are the actions in your role that really start to drive, yeah, that change, that culture. Yeah, this is how you make a difference, yeah, around it. Now imagine what happens when that occurs. All of a sudden you've got people who are getting answers to those questions. So good intent moves from a deliberately defined culture, yeah? And that's a really, really important element around it. And Sandra, I'm sure there are other things that you did, yeah, to just start to reinforce it. So, I mean, what were some of those?
Yeah, I also want to be sure that that it's important that the culture, behaviors, the guiding principles that you're putting in front of your employees are also really tied to the brand you want your customers to experience and that your customers have an expectation of. So, I don't think broad statements of, just be a good human is what you're looking for. You're looking for the behaviors that will really uphold the brand at the end of the day, and that will be a repeatable experience that will distinguish and make your brand competitive and differentiated from your competitors. So I just want to highlight that, because the other thing I see is a lot of culture brand statements that could, like, you just change the logo and anybody's name could be on that. So that was one thing we worked really hard on. The next bit that the HR organization, our PPL organization, has been really good at is integrating these behaviors in everything. Who you hire. How do you test for those behaviors in how you hire your next set of employees? So the hiring guides that you empower all of your hiring managers with really have not just those behavior guides as a guideline, but set of questions and ways to poke on how might we determine whether or not this is a person with the behaviors you're looking for. A second piece I think that's been really powerful is that it's connected to performance. You get what you measure. Mm-hmm. And so really being clear on what those behaviors are, but ensuring that those behaviors are tied to performance and that you're measuring for the full set of behaviors. To be honest, we had too many behaviors before. And we had a habit of just picking one or two and be like, okay, well, as long as you have one or two of these behaviors, and you can display it. And that was very nearsighted as well, because it didn't create a holistic individual or didn't task for the holistic mindset of the culture that you're trying to drive towards. So we've been pretty insistent that this is no longer a click down of menu items. Yeah. But is really a description of the holistic behavior that's tied very clearly to how we want our customers to experience Autodesk.
And I think that's fascinating. I mean, just to sort of amplify a couple of points there, Sandra, the brand is what the brand does.
Yes.
So, I mean, you talk about, getting to a level of definition and a level of detail that people understand this is how I bring the brand to life. So whether that's Autodesk or whether that's Shell or whoever, yeah, whichever brand, yeah, you represent, every single person understands what it takes for them to deliver that brand promise, because ultimately that's the promise that you're also making to your customers around it.
Yeah.
Yeah? And your customers will tell you immediately that when that promise is falling flat, when there's a gap, when there's a crack, when there's a mismatch, yeah, around that. And so it's got to get to a level of definition that is beyond the sort of motherhood and apple pie or bumper stickers, as I would call it, yeah, which lots of organizations do. I think it's fascinating, Sandra, that you embedded it into recruitment activities. So we are going to, from the outset, we are going to hire people consistent with the culture that we want to be. And you talked about linking it into performance, yeah? So we will recognize, reward, promote, yeah, folks who are delivering consistent with those behaviors and actions around it. So it's got real consequence, yeah, around it. So now I know how to be successful as an individual.
Yeah. And we think about it, we actually place as much importance on the what you accomplished as the how. And the how is the measure of, did you display these behaviors in what you accomplished? Because that is also how we engage with each other within Autodesk, and it makes for a team that is highly performing against a very specific set of outcomes that you're looking for. So this has been really helpful as well, to always be able to rate on the what and the how, not just the what. Did you leave that behavior of leaving dead bodies in your wake just to accomplish and be the most productive human being in the world is not the kind of culture that's going to make it for the long run, because your employee experience is going to suffer.
And I mean, that equal balance of what and how, I just wonder how many people, here this afternoon, yeah, have got the same level of, yeah, the what and the how. I mean, is that really what permeates your organizations around it? Because that's what you're saying it requires, yeah, to be able to deliver it. Sandra, we could talk about this for hours, I know, yeah? But I want to pause for a minute because I want to see if there's a couple of questions that we can take from the audience. So all I can see is bright lights. We've got one here.
Hi. You talked about hiring for behaviors. How do you sort of cut through experience in similar businesses to the behaviors? Like, how do you screen for that? How do you look for that when you're hiring for those behaviors?
We have a really great hiring boot camp that we assign to every hiring manager. And we have an alignment document for every role that we're trying to hire for. And that alignment document allows us to kind of have a conversation with all the poor the poor individuals who are being interviewed usually have to go through a set of people as usual, right? You often are not just the single manager hiring. Within that, each of the behaviors we outline the set of what to look for in the responses, and we assign each of the behaviors to somebody within the panel so that they're looking specifically for that behavior. And we're looking for evidence. So what is the evidence that you're brave? For example, being brave is one of our behaviors. What is the evidence in the discussion of your experiences and what you have been able to achieve in your career shows me that you are also brave in how you attack problems and speak out about the things that you're seeing that needs to be improved. So think about it as you're not asking straight out, what kind of bravery do you show? Show me your sword. But you're looking for the evidence of those behaviors while they're talking about the work that they're doing or their accomplishments that they have. And then we suggest some questions that align that would help you pick up on those cues.
Great. Yeah, so really getting explicit, yeah, around that and consequent, yeah, around that. Sandra, I wish you well in the journey that's ahead of you in terms of continuing to transform Autodesk culture. But thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.